You know him as Hawkeye, the sharpshooting Avenger from Marvel's blockbuster universe. A-list actor Jeremy Renner has worn many hats: action hero, Oscar nominee, even real-life hero to fans. But what few could have predicted was that his most transformative role would unfold, not on screen, but in the icy stillness of a snow-covered mountain, alone, broken, and dying beneath a 16,000-pound snowcat. It's easy to assume celebrities live in a bubble, protected from the harsher realities that touch the rest of us. But near-death experiences don't discriminate. They break through status, wealth, religion, or reputation. And Jeremy Renner's story is living proof. It was New Year's Day, January 1st, 2023, and Jeremy Renner was at his home near Mount Rose Highway, just outside Reno, Nevada. The area had been hit with a severe snowstorm. Renner, who had always been hands-on around his property, was out early, helping to clear snow so that his family could leave the house safely after ringing in the new year together. He was using a piston-bully snowcat, a massive, industrial-grade snowplow weighing over 14,000 pounds. Renner had used the snowcat earlier that morning to tow a relative's vehicle, which had become stuck in the snow. Once the truck was moved, he stopped the snowcat and got out. But something was wrong. The snowcat began to roll forward on its own, heading downhill toward his nephew. The parking brake, it turned out, had not been properly engaged. Without a second thought, Jeremy acted on instinct. He ran back toward the machine to try to stop it and protect his nephew. But as he attempted to climb back into the moving vehicle, possibly stepping up on the track to reach the cab, he was pulled under. The snowcat ran directly over his torso. It crushed more than 30 bones in his body: ribs, an eye socket, his jaw, his knee, ankles, and his chest, and caused a collapsed lung and a pierced liver. The force was enormous. He was bleeding out in the snow before his family's eyes. His nephew and others called 911 immediately. A neighbor, who happened to be a doctor, applied pressure to his wounds and tried to stabilize him until help could arrive. Renner lay in the snow, slipping in and out of consciousness, struggling to breathe. And then he died, his near-death experience. As Jeremy later described it, he experienced what many who've had NDEs report: a complete detachment from his physical body. "I was awake through every moment," he told Diane Sawyer months later. But at the same time, something else was happening, something beyond physical pain. He saw himself from above. "I was there, not in my body," he said. He witnessed his family around him frantic, sobbing. He heard everything, but he felt detached, peaceful even. He saw his nephew, the one he had saved, crying over him. And in that moment, something else began to unfold. He described it as a kind of fade out. The physical world was still present: the snow, the blood, the yelling. But it became background to a larger sense of being pulled somewhere else. A calm came over him, not the absence of pain, but something larger than pain. And then came the vision. Renner later said he saw his family, his mother, daughter, and others, but not as they were in that moment. He saw them smiling, illuminated. He described it as being offered a kind of choice. He could let go and drift into what felt like a beautiful release, or he could stay. But staying meant pain. Staying meant facing the brokenness of his body, the grueling work of recovery. He said he heard a voice, perhaps his own, perhaps something beyond him, telling him, "Don't let go." "I was choosing to survive," he said. "That's not a question." And just like that, he was back in his body. The pain returned, sharp and heavy. He was airlifted to a nearby hospital and underwent multiple surgeries, including the reconstruction of much of his rib cage using metal plates. In the weeks that followed, Renner couldn't walk. He had to learn how to breathe again, how to stand, how to speak without pain. But something had shifted inside him. He wasn't angry or bitter. He was full of purpose. "Whatever I have left in me," he said, "I'm going to give it away." He called his near-death experience a reset, not just physically, but spiritually. The things that had once driven him, career, fame, even physical toughness, no longer carried the same weight. What mattered now was presence, connection, and gratitude. Even while in a wheelchair, he showed up to help others, visiting kids in hospitals and speaking about resilience. He said he was never afraid of death that day, but he was afraid of not being there for his daughter. "I got lucky in a lot of ways," he said, "and I refuse to waste it." The NDE. I got so many gifts from dying. Renner doesn't describe his near-death experience with spiritual bravado or religious dogma. It's deeper than that, simpler in a way. He calls it the greatest gift. After all, this wasn't just about physical recovery. "I got so many gifts from dying and coming back," he told Rogan. "I'm 150% now, not in body, but spiritually, mentally." During those moments hovering between worlds, he felt release, peace, a letting go of ego, identity, fear. For a man who spent decades building a Hollywood persona, it wasn't the accolades or films that flashed before his eyes. It was love, family, presence, the simple things. Though Renner doesn't go into technicolor visions of light or angelic realms, what he does describe mirrors countless other NDEs recorded in books like Proof of Heaven by Dr. Eben Alexander or Life After Life by Dr. Raymond Moody. Whether they're surgeons, farmers, or soldiers, people report similar revelations, that we are more than our bodies, that pain and fear don't follow us beyond the veil, that love matters most. This is where Renner's story transcends celebrity. Here is a man who played gods and warriors, who walked away from explosions on screen. Yet when it counted, when the cameras were off, he did something profoundly human. He died, and he came back changed. "I feel like I'm 110% physically, but spiritually, I'm on another level," he said. The titanium in his limbs, the screws in his face, they're reminders, but not the real legacy. The real transformation is internal. The gratitude, the humility, the newfound softness. Recovery, he says, is age-reversing, because it forced him to live differently, to be fully alive. And that's what makes his story universal. What Jeremy Renner experienced, the out-of-body awareness, the vision of loved ones, the choice to return, is remarkably consistent with thousands of near-death experiences reported across cultures, ages, and belief systems. While each NDE is unique, there are striking similarities: a sudden detachment from the body, seeing the scene from above, a profound feeling of peace, encounters with deceased loved ones or beings of light, and perhaps most curiously, a sense that they could choose whether to return to life or not. Let's look at some other examples. Dr. Mary Neal, the orthopedic surgeon who drowned. Dr. Mary Neal, a spine surgeon and devout scientist, was kayaking in Chile when she got trapped underwater in a freak accident. She was pinned beneath the surface for over 25 minutes and was clinically dead. No pulse, no breath. But what she describes is unforgettable. She felt herself rise out of her body and enter a heavenly realm. Filled with colors and music, she said no earthly words could describe. She met spiritual beings, loving, wise, and joyful, who told her it wasn't her time. She didn't want to leave, but she was told her children still needed her. When she returned to her body, her recovery was medically miraculous. Her spine was shattered, yet she walked again. Like Renner, she came back transformed. Not afraid of death, but passionately committed to living. Anita Moorjani, healing from terminal cancer after her NDE. Anita Moorjani was in a coma from end-stage lymphoma. Doctors told her family she wouldn't last the night, but Anita says she had left her body and entered a vast space of unconditional love, where she realized that fear, not the cancer, had been killing her. She was told she had a purpose yet to fulfill and chose to return. Within weeks, her tumors had begun to vanish. In 5 weeks, there was no trace of cancer in her body. Her message since then has echoed through best-selling books and talks. Live fearlessly, be yourself, love life. Near-death experiences aren't just dramatic stories. They're often life-changing revelations. They challenge the idea that consciousness is only a byproduct of the brain. They unite people of all backgrounds with a shared message. Life is precious, death is not the end, and love is the point. Many who've gone through an NDE say they stopped fearing death afterward, but more importantly, they stopped putting life on hold. They started living fully, loving harder, forgiving faster, letting go of the small stuff, and savoring every moment. There are hundreds of books, documentaries, and interviews you can dive into to explore these incredible stories, such as Proof of Heaven by Dr. Eben Alexander, Dying to Be Me by Anita Moorjani, and Surviving Death from the Netflix documentary series. Anyone who is interested in this topic is encouraged to have a read and watch yourself. Don't be afraid of death. Jeremy Renner's story, like Mary Neal's, Anita Moorjani's, and so many others, reminds us of one profound truth. Don't be afraid of death, but be afraid of not living fully because of fear. Life is a gift. It's raw, messy, painful, and absolutely beautiful. We are here for a reason, not to live perfectly, but to live deeply. Take the risks, say what you feel, be kind, and love like it all matters, because it does. The next time you feel afraid of dying, remember, the real fear is waking up one day and realizing you never truly lived. The lesson: we all go there. Whether you're a mechanic or a movie star, life can take you to the brink. Renner's near-death moment strips away illusion. It shows us that death isn't the end. It's a doorway. And sometimes it's what's on the other side of that door, what you bring back with you, that changes everything. So the next time you watch Hawkeye draw his bow, remember the man behind the mask, the one who stared death in the face, not with fear, but with love, and came back to tell us what he saw.